Hello, nerds and nerdettes, and the OPB family. It is your fellow nerd back at it again with a back-to-back review on a recent release, a Marvel Omnibus we have all been waiting for, which is none other than the X-23 Omnibus. Before we dive into the book, I do want to thank Organic Price Books, JP, for the honor to review this book. This is one that I've been very excited for, so I'm pretty pumped to jump into it with you guys. But without further ado, the cover price of the book is $125. So once again, that standard Marvel price that we have been seeing slapped on Marvel omnibuses of all kinds. And then we do have a 928 page count. Not in the thousands, but still a decently sized book. But let's go ahead and jump into the story and take a look at some of the art. And here we are, the long-awaited X-23 Omnibus, a brand new Marvel Omnibus that a lot of us were really hoping for, and it finally was announced, and here it is being released. This is the standard edition cover, I believe. Yes, standard edition cover. DM variant cover, of course, I'll leave up here so you guys can compare and contrast. One thing immediately that a lot of people have noticed is the border that surrounds the cover. A lot of people were expecting a white dust jacket, but it does indeed have a border. Taking a quick look at the spine, we do have an image of X-23 in a fairly simplistic X-23 in white. And then on the back, we got the best there is at what she does, and an image of her and Wolverine. For those of you that have no idea who X-23 is, that may give some hints there. But it is a beautiful book. I'm not a huge fan of the border, but honestly, the contents are worth the price of admission itself. But let's get under this dust jacket. Okay, under the dust jacket, we do have X-23 and another cover. It is not a wraparound cover, if you guys can tell. You just have the X-23, I guess, logo on the bottom half of the back of the book. And then on the front of the book, we do have the cover, I guess, or cover under the dust jacket cover. Not too sure why they kind of went with that. I do enjoy this cover. I know David said that he enjoyed it as well. This is definitely top tier cover, but it is fairly simplistic underneath. But let's go ahead and open it up and talk a little bit about the story as well as the art. All right, here we go. Getting right into it. We do have some deep black end pages. I was expecting a little bit more color there. And then we do have a title page here of X-23 and another character that makes an appearance in here, which is none other than Dakin. But we can keep moving forward. As far as the creators, you are going to have a mixed bag because really her runs and series were fairly scattered throughout with a multitude of writers and artists. So you do have Craig Kyle on some of the writing, Marjorie Liu on the majority of the writing here. And then you also have a whole lot of actual inkers and pencilers all over the place. You do have Francis Portela, Will Conrad again, Sana Takeda, Phil Noto, just to name a few. It definitely does change artists quite a bit throughout the book. I know some people can not be a fan of that. And then we get right into the first issue of the Omnibus, X-23 2005, number 1. A lot of you that maybe are huge fans of X-23 are maybe scratching your head, wondering why NYX isn't the first issue that we're running into, since that was technically her first introduction in comics, but NYX is not included in this omnibus, so just don't go into it really expecting that. It was excluded, but you do get X-23 issue 1, and this really covers her origin and her story. So going directly into the first issue, you are getting a lot of notes and flashbacks and connections to the character of Logan, aka Wolverine. Those of you that do know X-23 probably know that reason, but for those of you that do not, Laura Kinney, aka X-23, does have a direct connection to Wolverine, that being that she is a clone of Wolverine, but obviously she is a female. Now, she has pretty much all of the same powers, the one major difference being that she has 2 claws in her hands opposed to 3, but she does have a 3rd claw in her feet. So technically she does still have 3 claws, just they aren't only out of her hands. She's a fairly interesting character because of the connections to Wolverine, and honestly, her going through almost the exact same steps that Wolverine went through, but as a younger adolescent, a child, and also sprinkling in a very tragic mother and father situation as well. So you are going to have a lot of traumatic events taking place throughout this book, not only involving the character of X-23, but a lot of people that she is connected to. You also have not only her origin, but also a lot of her early years kind of explored. So those of you that do not know her beginnings in the Marvel Universe before she even came into play with the X-Men or Wolverine or anything like that, that is in this omnibus. So I do think this is extremely new reader friendly because you are getting the introduction of the character, you're getting the stories from beginning to end, from start to finish throughout her timeline. The only thing excluded, like I said, is NYX or X-23 NYX. I know some people call it that just because of the trade paperbacks and stuff, but absolutely an amazing story. The one thing that a lot of people, or I try to make sure people are aware of, is that it does feel fairly episodic. It does not feel like a complete run with a full encompassing story from issue to issue, because they are kind of scattered about throughout. So you're not going to really get a whole lot of one after another issues other than each series that is collected. But you are going to have her interacting with a lot of the Marvel Universe, as well as a fairly decent continuation from series to series as well. So you're not going to be missing too much as far as linear storytelling. One thing noteworthy about the art, which maybe some of you have seen so far, some of the art styles in here do lean fairly into cartoony or even anime. I know that was a fairly big art style in the early 2000s, which obviously is when the beginning of this book was written and on forward. So you are going to have some of that art style in this book. So for those of you that maybe do not like the anime or manga-esque kind of art style, it is that way in the beginning of the book, but it does change, as I said, as it changes artist. So as far as the stories that are collected, the high point of it is seeing the character of X-23 coming face to face with a lot of X-Men characters, including her dad or clone father, whatever the proper term you'd like to use, Logan, as well as an eventual run-in with the character of Dakin, who is Wolverine's son. So you do have a lot of her involvement in the Marvel Universe, her first time involvement with a lot of the Marvel Universe characters as well, and also a decent amount of team-ups as well, from Jubilee to Ghost Rider to Gambit, you kind of name it. They team up at some point throughout the book, and honestly, it is a blast. I think the beginning of the book does perform better, in my opinion, than the later half of the book, but X-23 is one of, if not my favorite female character, and her story, while being tragic, can come across as relatable to some, especially a lot of the things she went through as a child, as well as the connections to Wolverine, who is obviously a lot of people's favorite character in Marvel. So definitely a character worth checking out, definitely an omnibus worth checking out as well. We can head to the extras, take a quick look at those. So as far as extras, we do have a lot of variants, as you'd kind of expect, and then obviously sketches from a multitude of the artists. A lot of these extras have the same border as the dust jacket, but really good stuff. Can't talk highly enough about it. There was a reason this was my number 2 most anticipated of the month of June. So very excited that I get to do this guest review, and I highly recommend you guys checking it out. And welcome back. So X-23 is a very interesting character in general. One of the more interesting facts about the character is her first appearance actually did not originate in the comic books and actually took place in a cartoon called X-Men Evolution. Some of you may have watched that, similar to me. But once the character was carried over into the comic books, her first appearance then took place in X-23 NYX, which is not collected in this omnibus, even though this is a volume 1. But what is collected in this omnibus is her official origin and how she came to be, as well as her connection to the character of Logan/Wolverine. Obviously, because of that connection, her upbringing, her origin, how she came to be is definitely a very tragic and dark one, as you would kind of guess, because of the connections to that character. And it's that more devastating for the character of Laura Kinney, who is X-23, because she is a child going through all of the torturous experiments, or similar to the torturous experiments, that Wolverine, Logan, ended up going through as well. So it is definitely a great starting point for the character, but it is a very tough and dark read, especially because of the inclusion of a lot of the horrible things happening to Laura taking place during her childhood. But still, if you do want to dive into the character of X-23, or maybe you really enjoyed that new Wolverine omnibus and you want to know who Laura Kinney is, this is the omnibus you're going to want to pick up. This is where you're going to get the beginning and her first run-in with the X-Men, her first run-in with Wolverine, as well as a decent amount of team-ups from characters of Ghost Rider to Jubilee to even a massive fight and team up with her brother, in a way, Dakin. So it's definitely a bloodbath of a story. It's extremely dark, and if you're a Wolverine fan, then you're probably going to like this as well. And if you're a new Wolverine fan, then you're going to definitely like this. And if you do want to get your hands on this omnibus, you know exactly where to go, which is, of course, Organic Price Books. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, as always, and of course, stay nerdy.